Darren Rovell from Collect here with Mike Harwood and Chad Brayman of Vintage Media Grading, VMG, and we are here today to talk about what might be the next great opportunity for those opportunists in collecting. We're coming off a time where we just saw a magazine, a Mickey Mantle 1956 Sports Illustrated, sell for $328,000, and you probably could have gotten that issue for around $2,500, that exact issue, around 3 years ago. So we decided we would talk about what can you do in vinyl and how do you go about doing it. So, Mike, let me start with you. What is the state of the game right now in terms of vinyl? Who's into it? What have you graded thus far? And what inning are we in?
So we are most definitely in the first inning for graded vinyl. Now, obviously, vinyl collecting in general is massive. It is, maybe aside from baseball cards, the single, total volume of items that are tradable, sellable, gradable. It's got to be right up there with anything else. However, I say we're in the first inning because there is a huge hole in the market right now where buying and selling vinyl, especially online, is a bit of the Wild West. You don't really know what you're getting a lot of times. When you are buying based on grades, you're based on what the seller thinks the grade is, and then you may very well disagree. And then you are also buying based on what the seller thinks the pressing is, or what the seller thinks which edition,
what version it is,
essentially, yeah. And so the fact that there's an inefficiency in the market right there is what should, I think, excite your viewers, because that is exactly what allows for people to go out and do exactly what you just said with that Mickey Mantle. Go out and get things that aren't, that they can take advantage of the market inefficiency and make money on it now or in the future. Right now, the grading process is very early. People are definitely getting in on it. People are definitely making they're flipping things in both on eBay and in major auction houses, but it is so super early, and it's an exciting time for a collector who thinks they want to get in on the ground floor.
Chad, let's talk a little bit about the complexities. There are some markets, I think of VHS as there were so many complexities to it. It's this gatefold, and there's 15 different versions of Star Wars and Jaws and all this. How do you convince the upcoming consumer that they will be able to learn all this? And what are give me a couple things, and we're going to take this whole time here to go through this, but give me a couple things that you immediately have to look at.
Sure. So just like anything else, like it may seem hard at first, but the more you get into it, the easier things are, where you know what to look for and what to get into. Out of all the collectibles that I'm aware of, vinyl, I think, it's the most nuanced, where the difference could be in the matrix code. We didn't plan this, but one of the records we have slabbed here is a Miles Davis Kinda Blue. I don't know how it displays on the screen, but this is an iconic jazz album. So whether you're a jazz collector or not, anyone that has a record collection wants a copy of Miles Davis Kinda Blue in their collection. The problem is, which variant do you get? So it gets complicated, where sometimes you have to look at matrix codes that sometimes don't photograph well. They're hard to see. That's probably a more complicated example. When you get into some more obvious things, like the first Led Zeppelin album, the one you want is with the turquoise font on the front. So that's pretty obvious. And subsequent pressings had an orange font. And there's many examples where small things like that, like the color of the title or the matrix code or a slight variation in the label, it's a difference between $100 record or a $500 record. And I believe down the road, as the market matures, some of those things could be in the same vein as a Mickey Mantle rookie card. Another example of variant is the Beatles' first record. So first UK pressing of Please Please Me. The stereo is rarer than the mono because at the time the equipment wasn't really up with the technology. Most people listen to mono. And the label was black and gold for a very short time, and then it switched to black and yellow. That one is the Beatles' first pressing of their first album, limited quantities from the country that they're from. In good condition today, you're probably paying somewhere between anywhere from $5,000 to $15,000. Now that's something, compare it to every other major collectible, Superman's one, or Action Comic one, Mickey Mantle rookie card. We're talking millions, if not, over 10 million. Huge gap between the 5,000 to 15,000 for, in my opinion, the best of the best in the record world to every other collectible that I can think of how big of a gap there is in price.
So, Chad, you just explained a lot, right? And some people could argue, oh my God, that's too much. What the hell is a matrix code?
So the matrix code is in the dead wax, which is the space between the label and when the first groove starts. There's usually numbers or symbols or letters or a combination of all of those things to denote when the album was pressed. So a little bit of like vinyl history, the way the albums are pressed, they create a stamper or a template. They create an acetate out of that, and then they press the actual vinyl records off of that mold, if you will.
So if something's sealed, I don't know.
Correct. And that's what a lot of sealed records will label that. Sometimes the covers don't change, like Jimi Hendrix Experience. The cover is identical for about a decade. And we label them just as we'll put the date range on there because it is virtually impossible to tell some variants what pressing a sealed record is. And in those cases,
you mentioned the Beatles, right? And people know about the Beatles because of the variants. Like this is the Butcher cover. This is the cover. This does not have the words to a song. This is missing this letter. This is missing. I mean, it's insane. And I would say the Beatles are among the most collectible. I probably wouldn't be wrong. Do you have to, how hard is it to learn all of that?
It's not hard if you start with what you like. And then just like anything else, you'll start on the surface. So I mentioned like the Please Please Me with stereo black and gold label. Well, then as you look into it, even that one had some variations where the Dick James credit was on the first pressing, and then it was Dick James and another credit on the second pressing. Both wildly collectible, but there's small nuances like that. So just like anything else, when you start with what you like. You'll start with, what is the Beatles' first record? What is the first pressing? How do you tell the first pressing? To your point, the Beatles are the most widely collected and probably the most cataloged as far as all the different variants. So there's a lot of information out there, and it's credible information. But records there's, just like baseball cards, there's errors, there's misprints, like Aerosmith's first record, they misprint Walk the Dog, Walk the Dig, which is shockingly, I've never seen that sealed. So that's one record, Aerosmith, one of the greatest American rock bands there is. That record doesn't seem to have a ton of fanfare. You could find one for less than $100 easily. Some people will be asking for more, but typically the record rate $50 to $100 for, I think, a iconic band, their debut album, and there's something special about it. There's a misprint on that, so it's the nice thing about, or the thing about records, just like any other collectible, they were made to sell millions of them.
Right.
So a lot of the 60s and 70s and even 80s, there's literally millions of them out there, but the difference is going to be condition. The difference is particular variants that were quickly recalled, or something that was mass produced and sold tens of millions of, those were all played and people wrote their initials on it, and people, just like how people tell stories of their parents sticking Mickey Mantle cards in their bike spokes, same thing with records. And then now it's, nope, if you think of it the way you think of a card where you want something mint and you want something almost like factory fresh from 1960, it's that much harder to find because they were meant to be played.
So this is something, and I'm going to hit Mike on this. When people want to have no information about cards, it's available. How much information is known about records in general when people start to search? And how do you think AI, with the quick aggregation of what's out there, will change the game?
Okay, so actually, vinyl records are blessed by having one of the great catalogs, searchable catalogs you can possibly find. It's called Discogs for people who aren't familiar with it. And what Discogs does, it'll search records in any way, shape, or form. It is created by fans who and collectors who put all of their albums in and update, much kind of like a Wikipedia, update all the different variants. So, and the other thing that it has is it has a marketplace associated with it. So you can look up the values of what has been sold. So say you're a Beatles fan. You can look up, if you're interested in Beatles rookies and you want to get Please Please Me, you can go on Discogs. You'll see all the different variants. You can click on whatever variant and it'll tell you how it differs from the others. And right in the corner, it'll tell you how much it's sold for, how many people want it, how many people have it. So that is a very simple search. It's a shorthand to say, well, which is the most valuable? Well, that stereo Please Please Me is going to be super valuable, and there might be $10,000. You'll be able to see that. Well, geez, that's $10,000. This other Please Please Me that was pressed in 1981 is $10. That one is probably the one I'm looking for. AI is going to be able to do that for us eventually. Right now, I can tell you this: we've used Chat, like just screwing around, tried to test Chat GPT and Claude and Gemini for their knowledge. The AI chatbots in general, and you probably have realized this from things that you know a lot about, are not caught up to experts. They don't get the right answers all the time. They're too often incorrect. That will improve exponentially over time. Right now, it's tough to ask Gemini, what variant of Abbey Road should I buy? It just hasn't caught up to that information yet. Mm-hmm. You're better off literally Google searching that and finding a Beatles fan who describes it. But I think AI will be there.
The value of plastic has never been greater, or whatever, acrylic or whatever this material is. So when people get this sealed, it totally changes the game, just like cards, just like magazines. Tell me, when I submit something to VMG, what I can expect.
So what we do is first the record's authenticated and determine what variant it is. That research is done.
Are there fake records?
Yes. Yeah, there are fake records. The biggest problem that we're seeing are reseals. Reseals, there are a shocking amount of sealed Beatles records, sealed Boston records, sealed Ozzy Osbourne records that have pink promotional stickers that some are legitimate. Many of them are reseals. Now, the thing with with reseals is that was sort of part of the industry where a local record store or department store would seal them or have unsold stock. So it wasn't always a nefarious thing, but it was done, and it's aftermarket. So the biggest thing, other than more so than counterfeits, I would say, are reseals. So when you're buying, if it's too good to be true, it likely is. And I would say it has to, if it's not already graded, that would be the best way to buy it. Buy it from a reputable seller, or do some due diligence from make sure the seller is reputable. If
Okay.
it's good
So
to be true.
so you get it. So you get it in. You authenticate it. Then what?
Then it's graded and it's encapsulated. So our cases are PET-G material. It's ultrasonically sealed. Before it's sealed, it's put in a polypropylene bag inside of the case, so the record and the sleeve are not rubbing against the plastic. It's boxed, so the corners won't ding. It is. We designed the cases the way we would want to store our own precious.
Yeah, they're beautiful. They're
And
beautiful.
it's meant. I mean, I wouldn't recommend displaying it in the sun, but other than that, it is, in our opinion, the safest way to store and keep your collectible.
And then let's go over the actual grading process. Cover, spine, and seal. Tell me what I should look for if I want the best in class on cover, spine, and seal. What is obvious and what is not?
Yeah. So just like anything else, there is a bit of eye appeal that goes with it also. So if you're a baseball card collector, you know that a 1971 Topps card is going to be hard with the black borders, is going to be harder to get in a good grade than a white bordered 1985 Topps card. That said, when you're looking for the seal, you want to look at the corners, see if they're not open. You want to make sure there's no kind of aftermarket dirty stickers on there or the adhesive from pulling off the stickers. And you want to make sure there's no splits. Now, if there's a split at the mouth where the record could partially kind of stick out, that is going to hit your grade much harder because that's a function problem. Literally, the record could be half sticking out and damaging. That's going to be it is going to be a worse grade than a split that may be over the spine edge of the record. As far as the cover, there's eye appeal, certainly. There are corners that you're looking for. There are obvious creases that you're looking for, and ring wear. Ring wear is when an album has generally been rubbed up against something for years or put under something. Eventually, the record itself underneath starts to push up on the cover, and the cover will get this whitish, or sometimes on a white cover, maybe blackish or grayish discoloration in the shape of the vinyl record inside, which is why if you haven't graded your records, you want to store open records with the record actually outside of the cover, just FYI. And so you're looking for that. A perfect 10 has to just be that, a perfect 10. Literally, you cannot find a problem.
Can you get a perfect 10 from a record in 1965 or it's not?
Never seen one, and I doubt it. I guess it's conceivably possible if someone, kept it.
So it has the same crazy standards for the most part as cards and magazines.
Baseball cards, yeah. And the reason is a lot of people will say, well, geez, I have this, and the same thing for cards. They'll say, I have this record from 1965. Look at the condition, and you gave it an 8. And the answer to that is, well, if we gave that a 9 or a 10, what would we do when a better conditioned version of that comes? I get that is a great condition for a 1965 album, but the condition really is graded compared to a perfect 2025 album. And it just like with 1979 Topps baseball cards, you're not going to get a PSA 10 Ozzie Smith because they were all off center and they were all poorly made. And if you open a pack of 2026 Prism, you're going to get a lot of PSA 10s because they're all brand new.
Since we're talking about opportunity, Chad, give me the outlook for me going to record stores. And when I go into a record store, where am I looking? If there are record stores versus going on eBay. Is any one a better opportunity than the other?
I don't think one is better than the other. Record stores, especially local record shops, they get new used inventory all the time. So the best thing to do is frequent them often, develop a relationship with the owner, the people that work there. and they'll call
Do
you.
they know what they have from a collecting standpoint or only a playing standpoint?
They know what they have, like what Butch said before. That Discogs is a very good barometer of what the market is for a particular thing. So they know what the market is. Nobody's really forward looking and saying this is cheap relative to. So I would go in and you know what fair value is or what the market price is based on Discogs. And that's what mostly record stores and basically everybody in the record world uses as far as like price points. Most things are going to be priced based on that. Go in there with the things that I would say the easiest things to look for that I think are good buys would be stuff from the 90s. That's what I grew up on, whether particularly alternative, Nirvana, Pearl Jam, Alice in Chains, things like that. That stuff is very collectible. Nirvana is already fairly expensive. Pearl Jam, Alice in Chains, Soundgarden, the other things haven't really caught up yet. But that was a time period where records weren't really mass produced. Most people didn't buy. I had a CD player. I had maybe one or two records that I basically just kept on my wall. And that was, so because they're limited and it is a massive band from that generation, you're getting something that's naturally rare. It's not a contrived 1 of 1,000 or 1 of 500. There just weren't that many pressed because people weren't buying them. And it just so happens it's the kind of music that we grew up on. So we're in the generation that has disposable income and the people spending a little bit more money and going after the nostalgia. So those things, whether it's hip hop, alternative music, 90s, I think are a great place to start if that's what you like. And you really can't go wrong with anything, any band that you're a fan of from that era. If you see that and it is from the 90s and not a repress, that would be a great place to start.
Just to mention something else, if you're really going into the record store with very little idea, you're not a vinyl collector, I would concentrate first on the stuff on the wall, because most record stores are going to put their best albums on the wall, and in the little cubbies that you flip through, they're going to put the most common albums, the $10, $15 albums, and the things that aren't in very good condition. For most record stores, the record store owner is going to know and have a sense of what the best albums are, and they tend to put those on the wall. So if you're looking for something that is already valuable, and that because records are so underappreciated right now, that you can say, okay, I get that that's $200, it's expensive, but that should be a $2,000 album, or it should be a $10,000 album once the market matures and appreciates and all of the inefficiencies are removed because things are authenticated and graded. Look at the items on the wall, and if you see, if there's a Michael Jackson Thriller on the wall, it may be in perfect condition. It may be a first pressing. They'll usually literally write that. The owner will write it, and if it's $10 in the cubby, it's probably a late pressing or in terrible condition.
But going into a store is a little bit more ideal because the people who have the vinyls weren't necessarily collectors. I'm just saying on eBay, they are their own opportunists. And how much when you look at a record can you really see what it is?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Chad. I'm sorry.
What I was good. That's true. It's hard to tell from pictures. Where I think eBay and Discogs may be better is if you have a particular variant that you're looking for, it could literally be decades before that shows up in your local record store. The beautiful thing about eBay and Discogs is you're getting record sellers around the globe, literally, in a very searchable, easy to find way. So if you are looking for a grail or a particular variant of something that, especially foreign things, Japanese pressings, European pressings, things like that, those typically aren't found or at least in any record store I've been in. All of those I've bought online, and so it really depends. If you're looking for something very unique, very specific, I would start with Discogs or eBay, and also develop that relationship with your record shop, so he can be on the lookout, throw out feelers, and find things for you.
Mike, you said we're in the first inning. Briefly, how did you guys get started, and how are you different from anything that's out there?
Yeah, so we got started because Chad and I have been huge collectors of things forever. I mean, we basically met in kindergarten and we're collecting baseball cards from way back when. We've collected a little bit of everything. And in COVID, we were going through, and we both were record collectors. And we said, during the COVID shutdowns, we said, is anyone grading records? Because, I think his brother pulled out a Dolly Parton album and was shocked. I don't know if I should mention that, but he's like, I can't believe how pretty Dolly Parton was. And this was.
That's exactly what he said. Pretty.
Yeah, he didn't see. Yeah, I cleaned that up. But and he was like, this is in great condition. No one's grading these things. And we said, well, we know a lot about records, and we know, as we felt, we know a ton about collectibles and about grading and about, Chad himself was in on the ground floor of sending things to PSA long before 99% of the population had ever heard of it. And so we said, well, we are so well versed in the world of PSA and a little less well versed, but also well versed in the world of CGC and Beckett. We know what they did right, and we know what all these card collecting companies that tried to do it initially did wrong. If we do what PSA did right, and we do that from the beginning, integrity, making sure, being on the lookout for fakes, trying to create a system wherein people can't game it. So that's the thing, why do you make this decision when you do a grade? Well, a lot of those decisions are because if we don't make that decision, someone will figure out a way to, to screw someone over. So there's a lot of rules and regulations that we put together. Our goal was, we want people to trust us more than anybody else when it comes to grading these records, and to trust that what we said is a reality, and that our grades are as constant, consistent, and accurate. If you see an 8, in this record, it's going to be equal to an 8 over here. That a 10s are not just given out so that we can get a lot of people sending stuff in. So it's really about integrity, honesty, and trying to be the record company that we would want, and that we were so pleased, and are not attached to PSA in any way, other than sending them stuff to have authenticated for signatures. But we thought they did it the right way, and we tried to mimic them as much as possible, frankly.
Chad, what's the greatest thing you own? Greatest vinyl?
Greatest vinyl. Probably the Bob Marley's very first record from Jamaica, the Wailing Wailers with the red label. It's his first ever 12-inch record. Also, that I think is, he's the best of the genre. Not a lot of surviving records from the 60s in good condition from Jamaica. If you know anything about Jamaican pressings, they're not the best. But it's I just thought that was super cool. I did pay up for it. I haven't really seen another one sell, so that's something I have. I think is will be valuable, and if it's not, then I'm happy to own it anyway, because it's the best of the genre. It's from Jamaica. It's a first. I'm a rookie card collector, so I gravitate towards like debuts and things like that. So that is probably I think the best and my favorite thing that I own.
Is it really the favorite thing you own? Because can we talk about my favorite thing you own?
Sure, it's fresh. So
all right. So if anyone followed hair metal back in the 80s and early 90s, Scorpions came out with a song called Wind of Change, and it ended up being the biggest selling single in the world, and was credited with knocking down the Berlin Wall and ending the Iron Curtain and ending communism. And there's been a rumor that the CIA actually wrote that song for Scorpions because they wanted the idea of freedom and rock and roll to infiltrate beyond the
Get out of here.
wall. And that's been a big rumor. And there was a great podcast, if you're interested in it, a few years ago about it that really dove deep.
So Chad
actually got that single, the original single, and sent it to Robert Gates, the CIA director. He signed it for him. So Chad has a Robert Gates signed CIA director of Scorpions.
And you know who opened for Scorpions before they were big? Before this person was big, the opening act. Bon Jovi.
Oh, I was gonna guess it was gonna either be Bon Jovi or Billy Joel, or Bruce Springsteen, since I know you're a New Jersey guy.
Yeah, Bon Jovi in '84 was opening up for Scorpions. What's your favorite thing you own, Mike?
So Chad and I, kind of co-own a couple of absolute grails. We co-own a Beatles. First State Butcher album, which is a sealed Velvet Underground with Nico from Andy Warhol with the banana. My favorite thing that I own, Pearl Jam put out, because I'm a huge Pearl Jam fan. They some years ago put out a retrospective called 20, which was 20 years after their original album 10, which was their biggest album, and they made a purple version that they only gave out to friends and family. So that's probably, that kind of stuff I think is super cool.
What's the greatest thing that's ever been submitted where you go, oh my God, no way?
Diamond Dogs, probably, Chad?
Yeah, that's a cool one.
All right, what is it?
For those who don't know, it was a David Bowie album. It did not actually come with a record. It was only printed and then was refused because he is a naked dog on it. And you can see the dog's genitals. And so that cover was made. It was never put out as a record. You had to get it, through back channels. But that was sent in, and it was in fantastic shape, and it is super, super rare. But that's probably the favorite thing I saw, because that was one of the grails that I had never seen before.
Well, if you're a Bon Jovi guy, Darren, there's a Slippery When Wet. I'm sure
the Japan version versus the regular.
Well, that's
the one thing I know.
Well, there's that cover, the Japanese cover. There's a handful of U.S. covers, like of the U.S. variant of the T-shirt cover is. If you're a Bon Jovi fan or just a '80s, just a rock fan in general,
40th anniversary of that thing too. Perfect timing.
That's a great one. I actually got one they pop up on Discogs every now and then for not a lot, a couple $100, but that's something that I think could be. There's not a lot of them. You'll see maybe one a year come up for sale.
Wow. Well,
if you're a rookie fan, if you're a fan of Bon Jovi rookies, his rookie is actually
Bon Jovi when he was Bon Jovi.
Yes,
John Bon Jovi. His rookie appearance on a record is a Star Wars Christmas album, and he's singing with R2-D2. And
perfect timing, like 1978.
Yeah, it would have been, I think that actually came out in 78, 79, might have been 80. It comes up, you can find that in pretty good shape. It was bought a lot. You can actually find it sealed pretty good, but that is a perfect example to me of arbitrage opportunities, because you can still get that cheap, and it combines a rookie card with perhaps the most significant pop culture fandom in the world. I mean, if I was, saying, what's going to be worth something someday that you could get super cheap, that's one I would go for, because it just combines everything.
As the rabbit hole goes, there's that album. You'll see also there's gold stamp promo versions of that. So a lot of times when record companies would send records to radio stations, especially in the 80s, that's mostly when we see this, there'd be a gold stamp, say, for demonstration or not for resale.
For promo only, those are always.
Yeah. So that takes it. So it takes something like Butch said, it's relatively common. You can still find them. Good condition's harder. Good condition with the gold stamp promo is very hard. And and that's something, again, if you're a Bon Jovi collector, Star Wars collector, I personally would want the gold stamp promo in high condition or sealed.
I think we agree. We could talk about this forever. I think people now understand at least where the opportunities lie. They can go down the rabbit hole and find something for relatively cheap and send it to VMG and get started on that arbitrage. So, Mike and Chad, thanks for joining us, and I'm sure this will not be the last time we will be educating the public on the latest and greatest in vinyl.
Well, thank you so much for having us. This is great times. I love talking collectibles.
Yeah, thank you very much for having us.